Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the kickoff of the Inria London Programme. I am Benjamin Guedj, Scientific Director of the programme, and I'm very honored to be chairing this event. The Inria London Programme is an initiative from Inria to establish a hub in the United Kingdom and increase the volume of its collaboration with the UK partners, in particular with University College London as a privileged partner. So we have gathered 8 speakers to introduce the programme. This has been in the making for some time, I have to report, as we had to adjust to the new sanitary constraints, obviously, as we all had to do since 2020. Nevertheless, we're looking very much forward to launching new collaborations, online for now, and hopefully in person in the near future. So make sure to reach out and speak about the program to your colleagues who have already received many expressions of interest from colleagues at both Inria and UCL. So please bear with us as we're crafting personalized responses in the next few days. So just mentioning that this event is recorded. The video will be shared on YouTube channels, both from Inria and UCL. And all of you registered attendees will receive a follow-up email with a link, so you can also stay tuned on the website london.inria.fr. Time won't allow for the speakers to answer questions, but if you do have any, please submit your questions on the questions tab on the right of your screen, and we'll make sure to address those in a few days. I now have the pleasure and honor to introduce our speakers. So our first speaker is Geraint Rees from UCL. Geraint is a professor of cognitive neurology, is Pro-Vice-Provost for Artificial Intelligence, and Dean of the Faculty of Life Sciences and a Director of UCL Business. Geraint, thank you very much for being here.
Benjamin, thank you very much for inviting me. It's a great pleasure and a privilege to open this event, announcing and celebrating the Inria London Programme, building on those existing interactions between colleagues in both institutions. It's a real shame we cannot meet face to face, but I think it's great we can still come together. And UCL is, of course, incredibly proud to participate in such an important programme. The reason we can't meet face to face is, of course, because our two countries and indeed the whole world are currently being hit very hard by the effects of the coronavirus. But I think the advent of effective vaccines means that we can, for the first time, perhaps during this pandemic, see how a world after coronavirus might look. And as two forward-looking organisations dedicated to making a positive impact on the world, we need to plan for that future. So in my very brief opening remarks, I want to talk about 3 things. The first is about the future. It was obvious, I think, to many on this call before the pandemic, that artificial intelligence and associated technologies are a really important part of our shared future. And the pandemic has also made visible the crucial importance of applied mathematics and computer science in addressing some of the consequences of our enforced isolation and some of the things we need to do to get over this pandemic. But it's also made visible the limitations of technology. While collaborative tools that have enabled many of us to continue being productive from home are amazing, it's equally apparent to me that I think all of us miss the social interaction, the shared physical experiences, not just of our families and our friends, but our workplaces and the creativity that comes from those shared interactions. So to me, that's a reminder that technology comes into existence on a planet that's already populated by humans, societies, and indeed, as a Dean of Life Sciences, plants and animals. So that's the first observation I want to make about the future, that AI and associated technologies should be, in my opinion, for people and planet. And in fact, UCL makes that statement the centerpiece of our AI strategy. We want to position AI as a force for good in the world through considering the human dimension, inclusion and diversity, open science, and the potential for misuse, amongst other things. And so I think by always having that framework at the front of our minds, we seek to position AI as a force for good in the world. And the second thing I want to say is about the role of interdisciplinarity. For globally renowned research institutions such as Inria or UCL, academic excellence is, of course, essential to have any impact on the world. And that is exemplified at UCL by many examples of outstanding foundational AI work, including our AI Centre in the Computer Science Department. But to have a positive impact on the world in the way I've talked about, I think it's important to connect that foundational AI to much broader application areas, from social science to education, from ethics and law to medicine and many other disciplines beside. And that's because I think the types of grand challenge and bold problems that AI can address involve far more than just algorithms and data, important though those are. And universities are one of those places, Inria as an organization another, where all of those disciplinary interactions can be catalyzed. And I hope our partnership will do that. And so the final observation I want to make is that important though universities and organizations like Inria are, AI technologies cannot be created by ourselves alone. And creating, developing and deploying these technologies requires a much broader ecosystem that spans countries and continents and ranges across academic institutions to include commercial partners, small and medium-sized enterprises and many others. And so that really, at the end of my remarks, is why I think this partnership between UCL and Inria in the Inria London Programme will be so important. It will create a way in which our two organisations can deepen and strengthen our relationship, but it will also help catalyse the broader ecosystem around us in France, the UK, all across Europe and the world. And ultimately, the purpose of such a collaboration, I believe, will be to benefit not only European citizens, but the people and planet that we live on. So in closing, thank you again for inviting me to say something. I look forward immensely to seeing this collaboration flourish and celebrating its many future successes. Back to you, Benjamin.
Thank you very much, Geraint, for those nice words. Hopefully in person for celebrating the successes of the program in the very near future. I'm now handing over to Bruno Sportisse, CEO of Inria. Bruno is a graduate from École Polytechnique and chief engineer from Pont et Chaussée in France. He also holds a PhD in applied mathematics. He has been a former advisor of French ministers of higher education and research and for digital economy and innovation. And since 2018, he is appointed CEO of Inria by the President Emmanuel Macron. So Bruno, let me unmute you. The floor is yours.
Thanks, Benjamin. Hello to everybody. That's really a great pleasure to be there, even if this is a pity not to have a true meeting, of course, either in Paris or in France or or at London. Of course, it's a great pleasure to have this meeting because we have really a very good alignment between both organizations, namely UCL and Inria, about what we want to do in the future. This has been said by Geraint, and I fully agree with what he has said. Of course, we share values about the role of science, about the role of higher education, about excellence, scientific excellence, about the requirements of impact of what we do, what we try to do, about some key scientific priorities for our field. That is to say, AI is of course a very important thing in the current world, but we have to master the dynamics of AI. That is to say, we have to be able to build interdisciplinary programs. We have to be able to have very good results about trusted AI. We have to be able to work within an ecosystem. So we share all these values at UCL and at Inria. I think that this is a very important partnership in the current landscape for many reasons. First, as said, there is really an AI momentum by, I guess, more than 5 years or something like that, with national AI strategy. I know this is the case in UK, this is the case in France, where Inria is in charge of the French national strategy about AI. This is also the case in Europe. So there is this AI momentum, and I guess that this is really time to reinforce the international partnerships for such a momentum. So this UCL Inria joint partnership is very important with this respect. Second, by Inria, we have a very strong focus on focused on targeted, international partnerships. And we are in the process of building a small list of from 5 to 10 key international partners. So that's very important for us to have such an agreement with one of the most outstanding universities in the world, UCL. So I guess that is a question of impact, of being able to have an impact through our international partnerships. And third, for the landscape, of course, I think that this is difficult not to mention that we are in a post-Brexit era, of course, and that this is the elephant in the room, so to speak. And I guess that this is really time to be able to reinvent partnerships between European, you understand what I mean, organizations and British organizations, and to reinvent them on the basis of true mission-oriented topics, of the willingness of both organizations to build a joint roadmap. And I guess that this is really an opportunity, because we know that one drawback of the current way of building projects in Europe is the opportunistic approach for fundraising, for instance. So I am truly convinced that establishing strong bilateral partnerships between organizations such as UCL and Inria can reinvent very interesting projects, very ambitious projects, which are not opportunistic ones. So to summarize, I think that we're in the process of building what I call a truly strategic partnership. We share clearly joint values. I guess that there are many links to build with other initiatives on the basis of this UCL Inria backbone, so to speak. For instance, about AI, there are international research programs such as the so-called research program associated to the GPI, General Partnership on AI, which is a good opportunity for both organizations to build impactful research. The starting point is clearly focused on research, but I know that we share a joint concern about innovation, about the business impact of the kind of research carried on in our organizations, through partnerships with companies, through startup creation. I guess that if we have a strong partnership, we have also to investigate the extension of the current partnership to this kind of activities. So this is only a starting point, and I am very optimistic about the fact that we are able to strengthen the basis, so to speak, if this is a strategic partnership, which will be the case. I am sure about that. I want to thank Benjamin for his very strong commitment to the success of this partnership. I want to thank, of course, all the colleagues who have been involved in the building of this partnership, of the building of this so-called Inria London Programme. By Inria, this is identified as a very important international program. I know, Benjamin, that you have presented the program to, I guess, most of our research centers to be able to onboard, so to speak, colleagues in order to strengthen the partnership with UCL. So this is really an important thing to this, what I mentioned that. I want to thank UCL to have accepted to start this story with Inria, to host the growing team of Benjamin, and I want to share that we will be fully committed in the success and in the ramp up of these partnerships. So thanks for that.
Thank you very much, Bruno, for again those very kind words and this presentation, also the institute and the way it aligns very nicely with the research carried out here at UCL. Thank you very much. Next, I would like to invite on the stage Nigel Tichenor from UCL. Nigel is Professor of Bioprocessing and Synthetic Biology. He's the former head of the Department of Biochemical Engineering, and he's now the Dean of the UCL Faculty of Engineering, which is, I think, one of the largest faculties within UCL. Nigel, the floor is yours. Let me unmute you. So I think you need to unmute yourself. There you are.
Super. Yes. Thank you very much, Benjamin.
Thank you.
I was going to say that one of the disadvantages of following after such eloquent introductory speeches by Geraint and from Bruno is that there's very little left to cover. So what I thought I would do is instead give you a bit of a personal perspective of the journey that together between ourselves, Inria and Computer Science at University College London have been through over these past few years. My one regret is that, of course, we're not together. We're having to do this as a virtual event, but that should raise our expectations for the time when we are truly able to raise a glass together to celebrate what I think is a really momentous day. We've been on a long journey together, and I remember the start of this journey in John Shawe-Taylor's office, looking out across the Bloomsbury campus. And the first thing that struck me when I entered John's office to be introduced to some of his colleagues from Inria was quite how well established that friendship actually was. There was an enormously strong sense of esprit de corps, a palpable sense of friends who had studied together, researched together, but who had also enjoyed each other's company together. And I think that's a really positive thing for us to look forward to in the future as we build this collaboration. Success will not simply be measured in terms of research papers and innovations and conference papers, but also those other conversations, those minds that are changed by the conversations between researchers across the two institutions. And I think that's an enormously exciting formulation to have prepared. So I want to thank John and the individuals from Inria who had that vision in the first place, that this was truly something to work toward. And as Bruno pointed out, you have overcome both COVID as a pandemic that's ravaging across the world at the moment, but also that horrible Brexit word that I think has bedeviled our conversations over the past months. I think it is an enormously important testament to the strength of the relationship, and a testament that will put us in good strength for the future, that we have withstood the politics of the European discussion. And Bruno talked about whether we are European or British. I still think of myself as a European, and I think this collaboration absolutely underscores the importance we place in the value of those relationships, whether they are local, European, or truly global. So today we witnessed the beginning of a joint laboratory in artificial intelligence, an area that I think it represents a really timely investment and a timely opportunity for us to research pressing problems that face society and our world over the future months and years ahead. I offer you, as the Dean of the Faculty of Engineering Sciences here at UCL, all the support I can give you. We've already conquered some of the major obstacles that a university like UCL throws up for initiatives like these, things like space, the dreaded estates problem. And it's fantastic that we have managed to, in the time we've been deliberating and constructing this relationship, we have built an AI centre at 90 High Holborn and are in the process of establishing new premises within 200 metres of the existing computer science building. And as Geraint knows, we're planning for yet bigger things in the future, a new faculty of computer science and a new building to accommodate that. So these are really exciting times. And I just wanted to give my thanks and well wishes to all of those who've been involved in taking us to this point. This is a really strategic opportunity, and I hope that we can together realise the full potential of the vision that the Inria UCL London partnership offers. So thank you once again.
Thank you very much, Nigel. So I know Geraint and you have rather tight schedules this afternoon, so I think you will be leaving shortly. But thank you again for your very kind words and your support, your tremendous support from the very beginning. You mentioned, Nigel, the meeting in John's office, which was, I'm afraid to say, almost 2 years ago. So this goes a long way. But thank you again for your continued support. We're now moving back to Inria, and I'm very pleased to invite to the stage Jean-Frédéric Gerbeau. So Jean-Frédéric is a research director at Inria. He holds a PhD from Pont-et-Chaussée in France, and he has served as team leader within Inria for 12 years, before becoming in 2018 the deputy CEO for science at Inria. There you are, Jean-Frédéric. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Benjamin. So I would like to say a few words about science at Inria. As you know, Inria is a national public research institute with about 3,000 scientists, 200 project teams, and most of them being joined with universities. As such, we cover most of the field of computer science and applied mathematics, programming languages, data science, telecommunication network, software engineering, robotics, mathematical modeling, and so on and so forth. But in our strategic plan, 2019-2023, we chose a few priorities that I would like to describe a bit, because I think they are relevant to our partnership, either right now or for the future of our partnership. First priority, of course, artificial intelligence, which in our views covers a wide range of scientific topics, including, of course, symbolic AI, machine learning, data science, and with a special interest for B2B AI, like for example, embedded AI, and to the certification of AI algorithm based, for example, on the use of formal methods. We have also a special concern for the impact of machine learning algorithms on energy, and we want to take advantage of the presence in our institute of mathematicians and computer scientists. And I know that this mix is very, very much in the spirit of the work that Benjamin and his collaborators have already started in London. Second topic, high-performance computing, and more generally, high-performance data analysis, relationship with AI, big data, and so on, with a special attention to the algorithms and programming that will be used for the future exascale European machines, which, as you know, will contain an important accelerated part based, for example, on GPUs, and which will be therefore very relevant to machine learning in particular and deep learning. Third topic is quantum computing. Recently, last week, President Emmanuel Macron has just announced a very important national plan of 1.8 billion euros for quantum technologies. Inria will play an active part in this national plan, particularly in the field of quantum algorithms, quantum error correction, quantum and post-quantum crypto, and will contribute to the construction of a software stack needed to program not only the possible future quantum large-scale quantum computers, but also the hardware that is already available today or that will be available in the near future. Fourth priority, cybersecurity, which include, of course, again, crypto and post-quantum crypto, but also formal methods to prove, for example, telecommunication protocol applied to security and privacy, intrusion detection using, in particular, machine learning approaches. All these topics have, of course, many applications, and we are interested in the applications in healthcare with personalized medicine, precision agriculture, transport, energy, industry, education, lifelong learning. As you can see, even when you specify a few priorities, there still leaves a lot of room for many, many subjects. And we know that some of them are already being addressed in the framework of our existing collaboration. And my dearest wish is that the partnership that officially starts this year will enable us to make significant contribution together in some of these areas. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jean-Frédéric, for this overview of the science carried at Inria. Let's now move on to the research which is carried out at UCL Computer Science. I'm very pleased to invite Steve Hales to join. Steve is a professor of computer science. His expertise is in trust and security networks and robotic systems. And since 2019, he serves as the head of the Department of Computer Science. Steve, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Benjamin. First of all,
yeah.
Oh, can you hear me? Okay. Benjamin asked me to say something about the department here, and I'm more than pleased to do that. UCL and Inria have a long history, actually, of collaboration over time, going back way more than 2 years, as I can attest. And in a really very wide variety of areas as well. But one thing that we've learned is that we're two organizations with very similar mindsets, common values, as Bruno said. And although it's been 2 years in the making, this particular collaboration is really strong evidence that ideas and collaborative activity in pursuit of knowledge and the greater good are much stronger than the artificial barriers that people choose to erect, and actually the natural barriers that we're all facing at the moment by all being sat in our bedrooms. So let me tell you something about the Department of Computer Science. Next slide, Benjamin. We're an internationally leading centre of computing research. There you go. Every so often there's a research evaluation, national research evaluation. It's going on currently, but in the last one we were the top ranked UK university. You can see that our QS World rankings have been rising steadily, and the credit for that is down to the amazing staff that we have and their enthusiasm, the ideas they generate, the collaborations they bring in, their openness to new ways of thinking, new ways of doing things. As a university department, we're quite a large department. We've got, at the moment, 117 academic and teaching staff. That increases on a fairly regular basis. At the moment, we're about twice the size we were 10 years ago, slightly more than twice the size we were 10 years ago. 130 postdocs, 270 PhD students. We're involved actually in more than 4 centres for doctoral training, which are there to educate PhD students now, but we lead in 4 of them. And we've got something over 1,100 taught students at the moment. They're split about 50-50 between postgraduate students and undergraduate students, and again about 50-50, maybe 60-40 between overseas students and UK students. We have a steady stream of research income. We've raised something like £50 million of research income over the past few years. As I think Bruno said again, we've got a developing innovation activity at the moment, and we very much see the future of the university department as having teaching, research, and innovation at its core, with each benefiting from the other. as well, and we've been building that. So we have a lot of industrial engagement in our teaching activities. We've got a really strong stream of income in terms of industrial donations, PhD studentships, spin-out activities, all sorts of things going on at the moment. There are literally too many awards to mention. I thought I'd just pick one. The NEED Award, well, we've actually had 6 people win it in the last few years. And if you look at the A minor ranking of influential computer scientists, again, we feature quite significantly in those rankings as well. We have many people involved in that. Next slide, Benjamin. As I said, we're quite a large department. We cover a lot of areas. It's very much in UCL's DNA that we are interdisciplinary. But in order to be interdisciplinary, you have depth in your discipline as well. So we do both, actually. But we cover a very broad range of areas, from autonomous systems and robotics to quantumation, artificial intelligence, and financial computing, say. It's a really very wide variety of activities. We tend to build strength within the department, but we tend to collaborate very widely as well. So we belong to many centres. So we have some centres which are structurally interdisciplinary. So the Centre for Medical Image Computing is joint between us and medical physics. The UCL Interaction Centre is joint between computer science and psychology and language sciences. UCL Centre for AI is an activity in which we're engaged in the foundational part, and Geraint and others are involved in AI for health, for people and planet. We have another relatively recent activity. So the Global Disability Innovation Hub is looking at a global perspective on disability. It's an activity that's joint between us, Loughborough University, and the London College of Fashion, and an awful lot of partners spread across the world as well. A lot of them in the developing world. There are too many things to go through in any great amount of detail here. But the point is that we're real enthusiasts for collaboration. We think there's deep value in collaborative activity, and we're good at working with others and generating impact out of those collaborations. On next slide. You just get one.
There you are.
There you go. So what I thought I'd do is have a quick look at some of the things that we talk about in terms of priorities and groups that exist within Inria, and seeing where there are synergies within computer science. We have, in terms of algorithms and quantum computing, we have an activity which is itself a joint activity inside UCL in quantum technologies. We do quite a lot of work in quantum information, and increasingly a quantum perspective is becoming important in terms of theory and in terms of applications as far distant as linguistics, say, at the moment. Obviously, there are synergies in AI, otherwise we wouldn't be here. Digital health, UCL is a very strong university in terms of medicine. It has some of the world's leading groups in medicine in a wide variety of areas. The Department of Computer Science also has a large number of research activities that either work directly with medics or that are of value to medics. So we span the space between AI and medical image computing to robotic surgery, analysis of Twitter feeds looking at epidemiological data and all sorts. In terms of high performance computing, often we've been users of this in the past, but we're developing an activity at the moment, both within the department and across the college, in which we're playing a part. So we're building an advanced research computing centre within the college, which is a collaboration between Department of Computer Science, the Office for the Vice-Provost for Research, and the Information Systems Division, the computing services of UCL, because there's value in using high performance computing to undertake research in physics and chemistry and in computer science, but there's also value in doing research within high performance computing in order to be able to have impact within those disciplines down the line as well. It's an interesting area to be doing things. In terms of software systems, there are clear synergies with our software systems engineering group. There are many people working in data science. In terms of digital education, this is something that we're starting to get into. But we have projects which John's involved in, John Shawe-Taylor's involved in, looking at the use of AI, say, in digital education, again, specifically taking a global perspective on this, so an inclusive perspective. In terms of frugal digital, again, with this global perspective, we're looking at technologies that are appropriate to the environments in which they're deployed. Again, many doing this, but we have people working on malaria diagnosis in the field. And again, the Global Disability Innovation Hub is looking at technologies which are appropriate to disability, both for and with people in the developing world. And obviously there are links between our information security groups and digital security in Inria. So although this particular collaboration is founded in AI, the potential for future collaborations is just astonishing. It's just here. Okay, next slide. As Nigel was hinting at, we don't stop here either, and things are always moving. There are new teaching activities coming down the line. So John can tell more about the AI for Sustainable Development, which is linked to his UNESCO chair. We have AI for biomedicine and healthcare. It's our first real foray into joint teaching, joint courses with biomedicine and healthcare. We have new courses coming up alongside our Centre for Blockchain Technologies and Financial Computing Group in fintech and emerging technologies within the financial space. And actually, looking forwards, within the next 2 or 3 years, the department will expand really quite significantly, with new group being based out at UCL East. So UCL is developing another campus on what was the 2012 Olympic Park. We have 11 acres of land out there. We're building 2 buildings. The bottom left-hand corner is a picture of the site. We're building 2 of those buildings to start with the potential for rather more. One of the activities going into that is a robotics and AI activity, and sensor systems and robotics and AI are courses that will go there. And we will probably be hiring on the order of another 24 academic and teaching staff to populate that activity. So it's a large increase in the volume of activity in that area. We're looking at new structures for the department. The department's grown very large. We need to think again about how we structure ourselves, and that's a piece of work in progress at the moment. And again, as Nigel hinted at, we're looking at a new development for ourselves in terms of a new building for computer science to bring back the elements of computer science together, and to have within the same building teaching, research and innovation as those three legs of what we think an academic department should be now. As part of this activity, again, with that interdisciplinary view, we would hope to house the advanced research computing activities, and we'd also hope to build, as part of the wider site development, a broader innovation ecosystem, and not just a commercial innovation ecosystem, but an academic one as well, looking at co-siting with collaborators in other research institutes, companies, and also other departments within UCL. So building those research collaborations, which then may later spin out into other activities, but having that shared physical space, of which this is a precursor, it will be as soon as we can actually get in and share it, that we think is a powerful model for collaboration. So yeah, I look forward very much to seeing the collaboration established in person. It's a relationship that's just so full of potential, it's amazing. And we will work to see it achieve everything that it can possibly achieve. We're two organizations with very similar mindsets, very similar outlooks on life, and I think there is huge value to be had. My final words, I'd like to thank Benjamin, because without the engine that is Benjamin, pulling everybody together, fetching everybody together, it would have been difficult to make this happen. So thank you very much, Benjamin, for everything you've done.
Thank you very much, Steve, again for the kind words. It is striking, really, how scientific topics within Inria in the computer science department are so well aligned. And as you mentioned, Steve, the potential for collaboration also extends beyond just scientific collaboration. So I think this is also a very strong part of the program. Again, we're building from scientific interaction at the moment, but the plan, as also mentioned by Jean-Frédéric, is also to go beyond in the next few years. Thank you very much to both of you. I would like now to invite David Barber from UCL to join the stage. So David is Professor of Machine Learning, and since 2019, he's serving as the Director of the Center of Artificial Intelligence, which has been mentioned already. David, you should be unmuted now. And no, you're still muted. Oh, wait. Yes, all good. Oh, no, David, I'm afraid you're still muted. Can you hear us, David? Right, we've lost David. I think you just try to reconnect. Let me just maybe wait for him for a minute, and otherwise maybe we can just progress on to John, who's next in the schedule. So David is back. Let me just invite him back to the stage. Those are the perks of having videos all year round, right? This would not happen if we were in person in London. David, are you joining the stage? It says you're getting ready, but I can't see you, I'm afraid. All right, let's maybe move on to John's talk, if that's fine, and then we'll try and get this working for David right afterwards. So it's my great pleasure to introduce John. John is a professor of machine learning and computational statistics at UCL. I'm getting an echo. Okay. Right, okay, I was getting an echo, but I'm not quite sure where it came from. So John Shawe-Taylor is a former head of the Department of Computer Science until 2019. He was succeeded by Steve. He's also a director of the Knowledge for All Foundation. He will say a few words on the foundation. And since 2018, he's also the holder of the UNESCO Chair of Artificial Intelligence, which has been mentioned also. And John will be presenting one of the many projects really we've kickstarted over the past 2 years. So let me just invite you to the stage, unmute you, and share your slides. John, the floor is yours.
Okay, great. Thanks so much, Benjamin. So yeah, I want to start by thanking Nigel and Geraint and all of those at UCL for their support, Steve obviously as well, in bringing this to fruition, but also to thank Bruno and Jean-Frédéric from Inria and the support we've had from Inria for this initiative, and most especially Benjamin for actually moving to London and being there on the ground and making this happen. I'm wanting to talk really, in a sense, or maybe if you go to the next slide, I'm afraid I may have a few too many slides, but I'll try to keep moving quite quickly. So what I feel is that UCL has already benefited from this collaboration with Inria enormously through what Benjamin has brought to the AI Centre and to working with us. And I thought it would be a good moment to explore potential ways in which we can create new synergies and ways we can take the fruits of this collaboration into new projects. So I was going to focus on a short overview of some of the initiatives that UCL is engaged in on AI and sustainable development, where I feel there's it's an area that's sort of emerging as very important with potential huge impact across the globe, and where I believe there are many existing and potential future collaborations between Inria and UCL. So next slide. So just to set some context, back in 2003 to 2013, I was the coordinator of two networks of excellence known as Pascal and Pascal 2. And that was quite a large collaboration, about 56 sites across Europe. But Inria was very active in that, in this main sort of steering committee, which was a small group that actually, coordinated the activity. And in particular, our funding mechanism was rather Machiavellian, because we didn't give out the money until people actually did stuff or promised to do stuff. So we were much more kind of careful in the way the money was spent. And in particular, the Inria was involved in running the Challenges program, which actually created the very well-known visual object challenge datasets, the Pascal visual object challenge datasets that have been had a huge impact on the way computer vision has been done, I think. Now, obviously, there are many, many new datasets on, but this was one of the first that really set the kind of paradigm of work based on machine learning approach to computer vision. We also developed the Recognizing Textual Entailment Challenge, which I think also seeded some huge changes and influence in the natural language processing community. So one of the things we did at the end of that was to establish the Knowledge for All Foundation, which has been mentioned, which is a UK charity, as a legacy organisation. This was something that the EU asked us to do at the end of the Networks of Excellence at this time. And I should mention that one of the 6 trustees is actually Colin Higuera, who is based in Nantes and is also a UNESCO chair of Open Educational Resources. So if you go to the next slide. So just to mention, the Knowledge for All Foundation has promoted the adoption of the UNESCO recommendation on the use of open educational resources, which was accepted in November 2019 by the General Assembly. And that was with the help of the Slovenian government, but it's no minor task to do such a thing. And I think, it's a tribute to the people who got involved, and particularly to the Slovenian government, who were behind much of the legwork in making that happen. But the Knowledge for All Foundation has also been involved in a number of EU projects in promoting open education, automatic subtitling. I should say that the reason the focus has been on education is that one of the things the Pascal Network did was develop a whole portal for videolectures.net, which was recording of summer schools, workshops, and conferences principally in the area of AI and machine learning. Next slide. Okay, so I'm going to have to be very quick, but I wanted to just mention that the projects that I wanted to highlight were those that are linked with sustainable development. And we've been looking at seeding a network of AI researchers and practitioners in sub-Saharan Africa. There's the UNESCO chair that was mentioned, and also UNESCO Center in tackling sustainable development with AI. The X5GOM project was also mentioned, which is developing a portal for accessing online educational resources, and has been developing that again with links to UNESCO. UCL has also developed a joint collaborative research center with Ibadan in Nigeria. This was linked to the work in the detection of malaria and has the potential also to become a UNESCO center of collaboration. And we're developing master's programs in AI in healthcare and AI in sustainable development. So I'll skip this slide because I realize we're short of time. And I'll also mention very briefly here that there's now a new recommendation being developed in UNESCO, which we're helping to contribute to, which is in the area of the ethics of AI. So again, I think an important topic that is hoping to be adopted at the November Assembly later this year. Next slide. So this was a little bit more about the X5GOM project. It's about the corralling of open education resources in their presentation. It was also driven from videolectures.net, I mentioned, which actually won a UNESCO award, World Summit Award. And the portal is aiming to give learners across the globe access to open education resources, which are amazing, but are difficult to understand and find if you're not familiar with the different sites and how they might be assembled. So this is the aim of the project. So carry on, next slide. And again, I'll skip this slide given the pressure of time. This is to do with the African Center around the Sustainable Development Goals, creating equal access to advances in computational science for sustainable health and development. So again, something that's ongoing, and again, would be fantastic to get Inria involved in this. As I say, all of these projects I'm mentioning as potential areas of joint activity. And this is sorry, yeah, carry on, yeah, next one. And this next slide shows the center that's been UNESCO Center for the application of AI to sustainable development that's been established in Slovenia, and in which I'm heavily involved. So the AI Center will be a partner and plans to create a network around this. So it'll be sort of Pascal for SDGs. So I'm hoping that, again, Inria will take an active role in that. So moving to the next slide. And finally, to mention that there are these two new MSCs that we're establishing, AI in healthcare, AI for sustainable development, which again, Benjamin is deeply involved in. We're hoping to launch them in October 2022. And these will be a chance for collaborative projects focused on engaging with real-world problems in healthcare and sustainable development. So final slide, just to summarize. I think the collaboration is already delivering value. The AI Center has a track record that puts it in a strong position to develop links with developing countries. And I think AI has significant potential to impact many of the sustainable development goals. And we would love to be working together on this type of topic. I just raise it as a suggestion. Okay, great, thanks.
Thank you very much, John, for this overview, this glimpse really at one of the many projects that are carried out at the AI Center. I think we now have David back. David, if you can try to unmute yourself just to check if it's working now.
Can you hear me now?
It's working. Fantastic.
Great.
So,
so I don't want to take
no
too much time. I don't want to say any great long speeches, but really it's just a welcome. I think I'm very much looking forward to working with our friends across the channel. I think we have a long history of working together, and I hope that's going to continue in the future, because both our organizations are in no sense new to the idea of AI. We've both been doing machine learning for many years, and I think, as John mentioned, actually Pascal in some sense is a great example, I think, of European collaboration that was a huge success. I think it's a little bit undersung actually, when you look at the great events that perhaps over the last 15 years or so have actually launched the new AI generation, if you like, the deep learning kind of techniques. Actually, some of these actually span out directly from some of the things that John was talking about, particularly if you think about computer vision and the object recognition challenges that Pascal set up. So I think, another interesting, I think, development, if you like, a way of looking at the modern world is that, particularly in the AI space, people are no longer working in isolation. The grand challenges in AI are very difficult, they're very complicated, they require huge computer resources, huge, I think, data resources potentially, but also they require collaborative efforts. And we see many of the recent papers, not just with one or two authors, but many authors on these papers. So I think we are very well placed to do that. I think it's great to be collaborative. As I'd also echo Bruno's sort of sentiment that actually, we need to be, as much as we can, think about this, impactful in what we want to do. And that will mean also the networks that we jointly share. So we've talked about things like networks in Africa for UCL, but Inria, of course, will have its own networks of potential impact too, which are extremely important for us both collectively to actually engage with. I think that will help both of our organizations to expand the reach and the impact that we can potentially make. So I'm very, very excited about this. I think, as people have said, it's a great shame that we can't actually physically meet in London. We have a beautiful physical space there that we're very looking forward to welcoming Inria people. And we're also at some point looking forward to being able to go to France and see what we can physically do in France as well. So that's all super exciting, but unfortunately a little bit down the line. The only thing I would like to do at the end is just to thank everybody. This is, as people have said, has been by no means an overnight thing. It is taking some time and a huge amount of effort, both from Benjamin, but also senior management and people behind the scenes have been struggling and writing contracts, etc. So this is really a great day, and I think it's another wonderful example of how science actually has been very much in the past at the forefront of international collaboration. And despite the political uncertainties and annoyances which might currently be there, I think, as scientists, it's great to see us leading the way to and extending the hands of friendship. So I'll stop there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, David. You spoke about collaborative efforts. Now is probably a good time to also mention that among the many projects that John and I have started also within the AI Center, we do intend to submit to both UCL and Inria a proposal for what could be the very first joint project team for Inria with the United Kingdom. We never had one so far. So we intend to submit this in the upcoming month on the topics of generalization and semantic representation learning in statistical learning theory. This is one of the many materializations of what the partnership could become, also with hosting of joint teams directly in the AI Center. We're closing the event, we're nearing to an end, so I'll just give the floor back to Cécile Vigouroux to close on the program and on the actual initiatives we would like to put forward in the next year or so. Cécile holds a PhD in chemistry, and since 2020, it's actually very recent, since October, she serves as the Director of International Relations at Inria. Cécile, thank you very much for being here.
Okay, thank you, Benjamin. So first of all, I am delighted to be here and to be able to take part to celebrate the launching of this program that, as previously mentioned, took some time to take off, and especially with the pandemic crisis, it didn't help. And I just want to have a few points. The first one, I just want to give some information about the different tools that exist at Inria to foster such a key partnership for our institution, and especially mobility programs as soon as possible. Because if we go back to the development, the historical, the story of the collaboration, everything started because Benjamin took a sabbatical leave from Inria and started as a visiting professor at UCL early 2019, if I'm not mistaken. So the fact that Benjamin was in UCL allowed the collaboration to start, to grow, and to arrive at the event that we share today. So this sabbatical program still exists, and all Inria researchers can take part of it. And symmetrically, we have also a program for international chairs that will allow UCL researchers to visit Inria in different centers. And starting from this bilateral collaboration, we can grow and we can have associate teams with sharing team project from Inria and team project in UCL. And also the fact that we have this brand new collaboration is an incentive for us to develop a new customized tool and means to support this very important, as previously mentioned, this very important collaboration for Inria. And the second point I wanted to mention, as David just said, the idea is also to work together jointly to develop collaboration with other partners. So we can share, for example, our networks in Africa, since Inria is also working this field, but we can have also a lot of different opportunities, not only with partners in the UK, but also with partners all over the world. And as Bruno Sportisse mentioned, it's a very important way to strengthen the collaboration between European partners and British partners, starting with this core collaboration between Inria and UCL. And then the last point I wanted to mention, I just wanted to thank Benjamin for his involvement in the program, because it's thanks to him that everything started and everything is still going. And also, as previously mentioned, all the people behind the scenes, and especially at the International Relations Department, the people that help the program growing. And as the next step, we are going to plan a workshop in the coming months. We were hoping somewhere in UK and in France, but most likely a distancial one. But definitely, we are looking forward to have a lot of people that were here today participating in this workshop to be able to identify and grow with new collaboration. A lot of examples were given for the Artificial Intelligence and Computer Science department, but there may be also other departments in UCL that may be of interest for all of us. So thank you, Benjamin.
Thank you very much, Cécile. Thank you to all of you. So I'm just going to say a few concluding words. I would like to thank very warmly Geraint, Bruno, Nigel, Jean-Frédéric, Steve, David, John, and Cécile for speaking today. I would also like to take the occasion to warmly thank all the people behind the scenes, as Cécile just said. In particular, to mention Laura Norcy, who has been extremely instrumental in making this work over the past 2 years, and also strong support both from Inria and UCL, in particular Mireille Régnier, Christophe Biernacki, Grata Carvalho, Vajiha Farouk, and Sarah Bentley, especially in the past few days. This has been a bit stretching for everyone, for the incredible support really, and countless help on many occasions. The Inria London programme stems from many interactions with incredible colleagues. We have, as Cécile mentioned, many tools that we want to deploy in 2021 in the upcoming years. I would just like to conclude by mentioning that such a strong partnership between two entities such as UCL and Inria actually does not exist by itself. It is you, members of UCL and Inria, who will make it happen and turn this opportunity into what we hope would be successes. So please get in touch. The website is london.inria.fr. Welcome to the program and stay safe. Thank you very much and goodbye, everyone.
Thank you very much. Bye.
right. Not quite sure how I close this, actually. Caroline, Didier, are you around?